Talkin' Country.
You're listening to Talkin' Country with Paul Taylor.
Hi, welcome to my channel, Talking Country, where we'll be chatting to the stars of country music from around the world, whether it's in Nashville, Australia, UK, Ireland. You'll get it here first. If you like us, subscribe and give us the big thumbs up. Hopefully you enjoy it.
Every morning, have my coffee, gather my things, jump right in that same old traffic. Welcome to my routine. And then at work I hear a voice, how you doing? Someone asks. I just go on living, if you could call it that. 5 o'clock rolls around, I meet up with some friends. I try to smile, and all the while it's just pretend. Another glass of wine, a few more jokes, I try to laugh. I just go on living, if you could call it that. I'm just going through the emotions, half of me still. It's like I'm stranded out on the ocean, and you're not here to pull me through. I'm like a child who's lost her way, just can't find her way back. I just go on living, if you could call it that. It's like I'm stranded out on the ocean, and you're not here to pull me through. I'm like a child who's lost her way, just can't find her way back. I just go on living, could call it that.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and that was a brilliant song by Jeannie Seely called If You Could Call It That, a new song. Now, what can we say about Jeannie? She's a friend of the show. She's been on it already, you know, so she's just got the badge. She's got everything going on here. But welcome, Jeannie. Welcome back to the UK. How are you?
I am doing great, and thank you so much for having me back. Maybe that means I behaved the last time I was with you.
No, we don't like people who behave coming on this show, so you must have misbehaved.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate you playing the music, and that song is so very special to me.
In what way? How tell us a little bit more about that.
the interesting thing, of course, first of all, everybody knows that Dottie and I were such close friends. And my friend Ron Harmon, who I call my adopted little brother because he is just family to me, he had some of Dottie's memorabilia, and he found this journal, and she had started writing this song in that journal. And it resonated with Ron so much that he took it to Bobby Tomberlin to finish writing it. And Bobby said, "This is too good." And he called Steve Warner in because Steve had worked with Dottie and practically lived at her house for a long time and knew that, you know, he had a closer impact with Dottie. So anyway, I think the boys, I'm just amazed that the job they did finishing this song. I think Dottie would be so happy. I believe they said probably what she would have said. You know, it was kind of a thing all through the years, and any rough times I can remember Dottie saying that. Anytime you'd say, "How you doing, Dottie?" Just go on living, if you could call it that. She always had, you know, such a great outlook. So anyway, I love the song, and I was so incredibly thrilled when they let me have it to record. And I truly felt like Dottie was in there singing it with me.
I think as well, Steve Warner has carried on the spirit of the song, like you said as well, hasn't it? Because he's such a great impresario, want of a better phrase. I mean, he's been on this show. I class him as a good friend, you know, because we've got a mutual friend, Steve and I, who I've toured. I don't know if you know Nancy Hayes. Do you know Nancy Hayes over in Chicago? She's a country singer over there, and she toured over the UK, and I supported her and did a bit of sound, and me and her sound engineer called Randy Gardner struck up a friendship, who's very close friends and does Steve Warner's sound. So that's how we got the Steve on it. And he's such a great guy.
I'd like to meet her. I've known Steve since he was 18, is when Dottie first introduced me to Steve. So he's kind of my adopted family too.
But I don't think there's anybody, and I include you in this, because you know, when you're talking to artists and you name drop, you said, "Oh, we've had such and such a body on," and I've dropped your name in there, even recently of last week, which is obviously part of Bev's collection of artists, want of a better phrase, I said. But we've had Becky Priest on, and I mentioned you, and she was like, "Oh, love Jeannie, love her," you know. And everybody says that, like Steve Warner. "Oh, I love." Nobody has a bad word to say about you guys, so you must be doing something right.
Oh my goodness, that's so wonderful to hear that. Well, I'm just I love the industry, every part of it. I love the other artists and the new artists coming up. I just get excited when I see what they're doing, hear what they're writing. They're writing some great songs, and I feel really good about the industry being carried on like it is.
But how many years ago did you get the sort of a membership of the Grand Old Opry?
It'll be 54 years ago this September that I was accepted into that Grand Old Opry family. You know, I emphasize that family part a lot because maybe here again, because I'm getting older, and so the personal side means as much to me as the industry accolades, if that makes any sense. The friendships that you mentioned, name dropping, but they are friends and adopted family. And so to be a part of that family, and the family ties have just grown stronger. And the new ones coming in as they have, like when Steve came in, I don't know. When the night that Steve made his debut, or actually as an artist, or maybe it was the night he joined, I don't remember. Anyway, I think it was his first night as an artist, and he was in the wings, and I was standing there with him, and he was like, I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous, you know, and I'm like, you'll be fine. And then just as he started out, I touched his arm and he turned around and I said, just don't go out there and screw up and embarrass us. So he went on laughing, you know, and he told me later, he said, that really did help because I went out there laughing and it set the mood. So he quit worrying about being worried.
And I've been following you on Facebook as well, obviously, since we last spoke. And yeah. That's why we've invited you on, because you're not, you're not all sweetless and light as you keep trying to portray. But do you still get the same buzz when you walk onto that hallowed stage? Do you still get the same buzz as what you did at the beginning?
Well, I guess you could call it a buzz. It has changed through the years. Yeah. I think now mostly what I feel when I walk on that Opry stage, I feel pure joy every time I walk out there because I'm where I always wanted to be. And I know how fortunate I am. And I always come out from center stage. I'm the only one that ever did that. When they separated those bleachers, I like to be back there when that theme's going on. They lift that curtain, I'm back there and I'm looking at that audience. And it's such a sense of joy to be there. And I just want to walk out there and entertain the people as best I can and make them as glad to be there as I am.
Oh, that's a brilliant attitude, you know, because I think no matter who I've spoken to, I've said pretty much like for like of what you've said. You know, and unfortunately, obviously, because of COVID, that was going to be part of my 60th, because like I said to you before, I've never been to Nashville, which is like a cardinal sin for a country music lover, as well as a radio broadcaster. But that was going to be part of the sort of tour that I wanted to do. You know, I wanted to go to Nashville and I wanted to incorporate that with probably a Garth gig somewhere in the country, you know, and fly there or something. Mm-hmm. But obviously that's not going to happen now. But hopefully next year I can try and maybe not to the CMAs, you know, all the razzmatazz, maybe go to the sort of low key kind of weeks there, you know.
Now that you've waited this long, wait till things open up and are
properly, definitely.
To where you can come backstage and it will happen. And we're gonna get through this and we'll be fine.
I know, probably going to have to have more than 1 week though, because the amount of artists who said, right, you've got to give us a shout when you come over. We'll go grab a beer. And I'm going, because I hardly drink at the moment. I haven't drank pretty much for, hardly for about a couple of years. I've never been a drinker as such, you know, so I'm thinking to myself, get some training in here.
We'll fit whatever your schedule has in mind.
Yeah, I've got to go to the Opry. Yeah, I've got to go to the Opry. But obviously with yourself as well, you know, let's say going on Facebook, you know, I've seen you going on to the Opry, but also a great career in radio as well.
Yeah, I am so thrilled to have that spot on Willie's Roadhouse on Sirius XM. That's not something I ever even thought about. No. That just came out of nowhere. Actually, I auditioned without knowing it. They had asked me to roast Charlie Monk for a fundraiser for Music Health Alliance.
Yeah.
And of course, that just sounded wonderful to me. Who doesn't want to pick on Charlie Monk? So anyway, that night at the event, without knowing it too, Charlie just handed me a whole bunch of material as I walked in the room. I didn't know it, but the Sirius XM powers to be were there, and I didn't know any of them, didn't even know they were there, and didn't have any idea that they were considering adding a female to the Roadhouse in addition to Paula Nelson. So anyway, I knew none of this. I'm up there just carrying on and firing shots at Charlie, and every now and then he'd try to fire one back at me from the audience, and I came back at him every time. So after it was over, they told me later that they said, if she can if she can fly off the cuff that quick, she's exactly what we need on the Roadhouse with their comebacks. And so anyway, that's how that all came about. They called me and asked me if I would be interested in doing that. To be a part of the Willie Nelson family again was a thrill, because I got to open in the early 80s on some shows for Willie when he was doing his fair concert. So been kind of a stepchild in that family for a long time, I like to say. So it's just absolute thrill to be a part of the Willie Nelson Roadhouse.
But he also appeared on one of your songs on the American Songbook as well, didn't he? American Classic, sorry.
Yes. Dallas Wayne, of course, another Willie's Roadhouse air personality, had written this song. I just loved it. And after we recorded it, actually, of all the people I had invited and asked to be a guest on the album with me, I had cut the song and I was cleaning up the kitchen after dinner one night, and all of a sudden it hit me. I told my husband, I said, I can't believe that I didn't invite Willie to be a guest on the album. How dumb is this? So anyway, I threw down the dish towel and called Buddy Cannon, who was producing him. Buddy said, there's no question in my mind Willie will want to do it. Do you have something in mind? And I just could hear him on this song. One of my biggest compliments, I think, praised me when Dallas Wayne heard it. He said, I love the reading that y'all have done on this song. He said, it just feels like two old friends having an intimate conversation. And that just knocked me out of.
I totally agree with you. I know we've played it here quite a bit. You know, we did a Ladies of Country not long back, you know, and it was definitely in there, you know, and I mean, I don't know how he is at the moment, but, you know, if you ever speak to him, wish him well from the UK as well.
I certainly will.
But no, I mean, it's such a great thing. And some of the people calling you little things, which is quite funny. And one calls it Miss Country Soul. How did that come about?
Well, it was when I first had Don't Touch Me, and Ed Hamilton, who was promotional manager for Monument Records at the time, and those were the old days where you got in the car, you drove from one station to another. And Ed was in Louisiana. I wish I knew the station and the disc jockey, but it's gone and Ed's gone. But he had been in the station and they played the record, and the disc jockey really did like it. And when Ed said after he left the station, he was listening to the radio and the disc jockey put it on. He said, I've got to hear it again. And he put it on, played it again. And then he back announced it. He said, the deep blue-eyed soul of Miss Country Soul, Jeannie Seely. And Ed called me. He said, I loved what that sounded like. And he said, would you be okay if we use that? And I said, sure, it sounds fine to me. I love country soul. So
no, it makes,
I guess
I think it sums you up.
To be.
Yeah, I think it sums you up, you know, generally, but also being included in a book, on a forthcoming book called, you know, Woman of True Grit as well. But I think to have a career as long as you and as successful as you, you've got to have that true grit, haven't you?
Yeah. I tell people all the time, it takes grit to get here, and it takes even more to stay.
Yeah.
Because you can't quit working. I have a saying that said, until you want to get out of the race, you got to keep running.
Yeah. No, that's a good
one.
one.
And that's true of any business, you know. So you don't stop changing, and you just got to go. You got to try to stay current and reinventing what you're doing and how you're doing it. Some of your personality and your artistry is going to stay consistent, but you need to keep changing and updating to stay relevant.
I like that phrase. There's a song there. If you want to stay in the race, you got to keep running.
Oh man, better write that. Huh?
You better write it before me. Plagiarism, you know, is well, it's 6/10 of the law.
So we can write long distance.
Yeah, no, it'd be good to write something together. That'd be cool. But you've also wrote, you know, you've written in song as well, like self-penned stuff. Tell us a bit more about that and how that's going.
Well, Eddie Stubbs is the one who kept prodding me to record some of my songs. He said, all these songs that other people have done, you've never recorded them. And we need to hear from the writer, you know, these songs. So it was tucked in the back of my mind that I decided to do a new recording project. And I talked to Kenny Sears with the Time Jumpers. You know, Kenny also played fiddle with me, still does when we open the Opry back again. I said, so if I can find some songs, they will go in and record, because I always use my own band. And Kenny said, if you can find some songs, he said, why don't you look in your own closet? He said, you need to do some of these songs. And of course, with Dawn Sears singing Leaving and Saying Goodbye, you know, what a great job she did. So anyway, between Kenny and Eddie, those were the two that pushed me on to do this song. And I guess I hadn't even stopped to think about how many I had written that had been recorded either till we started gathering them up, which was interesting too, because Ron Harmon, my adopted little brother there again, said, well, you've got to do Anyone Who Knows What Love Is. And I'm like, I don't even remember. I had to Google my own song to remember. It had been so long. And I was totally shocked at who all has recorded that song and about the Black Mirror TV series. So that was a great surprise.
Wow, that's just amazing.
So I called the publishers and said, so where's the money? Somebody said, you got to be happy about all that mailbox money, aren't you? And I said, excuse me, I'm very tech savvy now. It's DD money, direct deposit. Honey, I ain't walking that mailbox anymore.
There's a song there. It's all, you know, you got to throw that in. I think what was a song title that's been going on in my mind because one of my friends had got into a bit of trouble at home, you know, with his wife and stuff like that. And I just looked at him. I said, listen, man, there's plenty of room in the doghouse for two. And I thought,
there you go.
I thought, where's a piece of paper? Yeah. Now you've got the
there
phone
you
now.
Go. Write that one.
Yeah.
That's good from a man's standpoint right there.
Oh no, I can't sing from a woman's standpoint because we stand no chance. No,
women don't go to the doghouse. They're banished to their she shed.
She sheds. Yeah. There's no
I
woman being banished.
Of that.
They just stand there with the hips on the door and go out. You know, okay, I'm in bad books. I'm going.
Yeah.
But also you do a number of good work with charities as well. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I think in the last few years, since I've not been traveling on the road, I'm just about through working the road, other than the few things that sound like fun and with people that I really enjoy being with, and doesn't seem like too hard of work I'm really going to do. But since I've been home more, I've been turning my attention more that direction. I'm working, of course, we do the Dottie West birthday bash, honoring Dottie and keeping her memory alive. And also all the proceeds from that have gone to benefit musicians. Dottie loved musicians and appreciated them like I do. And the songwriters say it all begins with the song, and truly it does, but it finishes with those wonderful musicians. Yeah. How many hit records have been identifiable by the intro? You know, so, or a guitar lick, you know, Pretty Woman. It's one of the best examples I can think of. So I think, and plus out there on the road night after night without that wonderful supportive band behind you, it can get really lonely, number one. And especially they can step up and help you if you're not feeling well or whatever. So Dottie and I have that appreciation. So I thought that then they need the help.
Yeah.
And I thought that other areas were being helped by other organizations. So that's one of my main focuses there. Also, I'm still on the board of directors of the Grand Old Opry Trust Fund, and we work. Here's how the two go together, because the smaller needs can be handled through the Musicians Union, and then save the more involved cases for the Opry Trust Fund, because it is a bigger fund and it's also under a corporate umbrella. So there's a lot more paperwork. So it speeds things up and balances it out. Then, of course, a couple of 3 years ago, I realized at Christmas time, okay, we've taken care of the seniors, we've taken care of the children, but what about the pets and the wonderful people who care for them? So we started what we call Santa Paws is coming to town. And we, thank goodness for the Ernest Tubb Midnight Jamboree. It's given us a place to do that. That show, of course, is free admittance. And so I thought, well, maybe everybody could bring something for pets. And still, if you've spent all your money on all these other things, family and the other charities, and can't afford a bag of dog food or whatever, everybody's got old towels, old blankets, even old sweatshirts you got up to make dog beds. And that is so needed at these shelters. So we divided it up between two shelters here, and to see the appreciation from the caregivers there, it's like, thank you for remembering us. We're doing the best we can, and we don't know sometimes if people even are aware of what we're doing. So, of course, we promote and encourage people to adopt, but mostly my focus is to support the shelter worker, make sure they have what they need to care for the animals. As far as the other thing, I've been a spokesman for several years, did some speaking for the Humane Society, and our focus there is to remind people when you're making your plans for the end of your life, or in case you ever reached a point where you couldn't care for your pet, whatever the situation, make sure you have plans in place for who will take that role over for you. Because too often little dogs end up in the wrong hands because the person didn't think. So anyway, in fact, I have a couple that's real close to Jean and me, Lee and Becca Thompson, and my little dog Cheyenne. And there was no question that if anything happened to Jean and me, that Lee and Becca would take Cheyenne. But I did have a footnote because I loved her so much. I said, but if anything happens to me, you find out where Lee Thompson was and what he was doing. Because I was afraid he cared more about my little dog than me.
Well, it's not a footnote, is it? It's a paw note.
There you go. Yeah. But anyway, those are some of the focuses for me that matter. And I just tried to find a place where there might be a breakdown in communications and bridge that gap.
Well, I think it's just commendable, really, because in troubled times as well, some people have sort of gone into their own shell and dealt with what they needed to deal with because of the pandemic, and not a care for everybody else. And that's fair enough, because you look after your loved ones and your family. But having people like yourself, where you've opened your arms, to a lot of other charities, and like I said, not just humans, but animals. I mean, it's just phenomenal. You know, absolutely brilliant to hear that. And
Well,
I
you
think,
know, excuse me, with social media, you mentioned Facebook,
yeah,
and the one thing that I think is so good, for instance, like the Santa Paws, I'm saying what we do on a local basis and taken to our shelters, but what I'm actually doing is passing on the idea
yeah,
to everybody everywhere in their towns.
yeah.
Don't just throw away towels and old blankets and whatever. Think about your shelter. And
Good.
while you're picking up a bag of dog food for your dog, if you can pick up an extra one, you know,
No, it's a good
it's
shout.
just a good thing to do. So because of programs like yours and social media, we can reach so many people.
We can.
It's just something maybe they didn't think about. And
Yeah,
so it brings it to
you know,
life.
and as I said, it takes a media outlet or a social media platform to get that message, and it's so easier now to get a message across globally
Yeah.
than it ever has been, hasn't it? I mean, you know, you go on
It's
Twitter,
amazing.
or I very rarely go on Twitter just to advertise the show, to be fair. But like I said, with the introduction now of the YouTube channel that I've got, which obviously we're putting this on, people will get, a lot more people will get to see this and see you as well, you know, and I think that's all credit to you. Before we finish, I don't know if I did this last time. I think it was after we chatted last time that I introduced the what's it called? Oh, it's just gone up my head. The monuments. What with the 4 heads in the rock? I've just had a brain freeze.
Rapid City? Is that it?
Yeah.
Now you got me thinking. I can't think of
Oh,
this.
you mean the
Mount-
presidents in
Yeah,
North
Mount
Dakota?
Rushmore. Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
I've been doing this every week for months, and it just went up my head. I had a senior moment. Well, I am 60 in a couple
Yeah,
of
I'm
days.
familiar with those.
Yeah. But I always say like a Mount Rushmore question. And normally I say, if you could change the 4 heads and put the 4 heads that you want on there, that's inspired you, etc. It could be family, it could be a mixture between music. I'm going to change this for you because I'm going to be quite interested to hear what you say. Who would you put up there, the 4 people that you've interviewed on your radio show that has impacted on you in some way?
Oh my goodness. Well, of course, I got to say Bill Anderson. Bill has had such a tremendous impact on me for years, not only is his writing, but the way the man presents himself. I have learned so much through the country family reunions, watching him interview people, studied how he did that. Bill is a major influence for me. And for those that I've interviewed, I'm trying to think, oh my goodness. Who else would I put up there? Emmylou Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah, Emmylou's, of course, Animal has her own.
Yeah.
And she would be a good one. Out of fairness, probably Janie Fricky. Janie is another one of those people that is so the girl next door.
Yeah.
And that is the way she is. And I think that appeal comes out in her performances and everything. Yeah. In fact, the day I called Janie, she was on her way taking lunch, wasn't it, or dessert or something to some people she had working there. And that's just so typical her. So, of course, let's see of Steve another Warner. Guy.
Steve Warner.
Yeah, probably. It would be a tie, the other two, between Steve Warner and John Barry. You got to give me 5.
Yeah, no, I've said to a few people, you've got the chisel, you've got the hammer, you can do whatever you want. It's your mountain, you know. I mean, it was quite funny when I first brought the question out. I said it to Phil Vassar, and Phil just went, "Yeah, my wife, my kids, my mum, my dad." I went, "Oh, right, so we can't really talk about that." So now I go, you can't just include your family; you've got to include musical influences and stuff like that.
Well,
just, Yeah, you can
When you
pitch that.
first started, I thought you were going to say, what four would you think? And the Highwaymen first came.
Oh yeah.
And I would like to see that.
Oh, that'd be so.
Would that
That'd be,
not be great?
I
Yeah,
think one of.
they need
I
it.
think if it was the Highwaymen, I think at least one of them won't be the head; it'd be the bottom, won't it? Because of just the way they were, just giving it to the people, giving it to the hierarchy, wouldn't it? So they'd be turning around.
We need another mountain to carve into, but
Yeah.
John Barry is an incredible
Yeah.
influence, and I will never forget the first time I heard him sing "Oh Holy Night,"
Oh wow.
and the song has just been done. That's all there is to it. There is something. Not only has he got this magnificent voice and range to do that, but there is something that comes from within John Barry when he performs that. There's just no question. And I have to say to everybody, if you ever have the opportunity, do not miss that to see that. And Steve Warner, because there again, having met him when he was 18 and to watch him just work his craft and the way he has always treated people in and out of the business. And he is still so unassuming. I don't think Steve Warner has any idea how big a star he is.
Absolutely.
And that is something to be admired.
It was quite interesting with Steve because, like I said, we got him on the show I think it was this time last year. And he did, I won't go into too many details, but basically he told me a story about when his mom died. And he said, I'm going to tell this. I'm going to tell it. And I said, you do realize it's on radio? And he said, yes, I'm going to. And he told me a story about Garth Brooks, going to his mum's funeral. Nobody knew about him being there, flew in a jet and then flew back out unassuming. And I thought to myself, wow. And he was such a great guy. But then John Berry came on and John was phenomenal. And he said, I said, what kind of songs would you like me to play? He said, I've got my guitar, I'll sing them. I went, right. So he's singing these songs and he's melted me. I'm in the streaming tears. I've just put it on the YouTube channel now because he was just like, I said, you've just killed me. It was just like, he said, well, we should sponsor some tissues then, it's just like.
But you witnessed what I'm talking about.
Oh, 100%.
John Barry, as much as anybody I've ever seen, you see the inside of John Barry when he sings and hear it in his writing. The thing he wrote about his dad, the
Richest Man.
The Richest Man.
The Richest Man is one of my favorite songs ever.
Yes.
Ever.
Mine too. Absolutely.
No, it was really good. And considering that the troubles he's had as well, it was just, just an all around great. I nearly actually did some work for him years ago because my friend Brian Smith, out of Leadership Artists, he became great friends of his when we toured with James House over here. And he's actually been to my house washing his clothes on a 19-date tour. And we were local to my home. I said, come to my house and use my washing machine and, stretch out and everything. And he said to me one day, and I said, I'd love to go to the CMAs, and he said, why don't you come over and work for me? I said, what doing? He said, selling John Berry merch, because he knew I was good at selling merch. And that's my nickname for for Brian Smith is Merch. Because it's not.
Well, I have a nickname for Brian Smith, but I'm not going to tell anyone.
I'll show you some photographs with you sometime. We were let loose in London for a day. That was quite fun. But he always said to me, he said, if you come to Nashville and don't tell me, I'm going to break your legs. I said, all right, okay. Because we're roughly about the same size.
Another John Barry story that pleased me so much. One of my latest ventures during the pandemic for something to do, we are a co-sponsor on a race car. So I had my picture on the fender and all of the hood of a race car. Anyway, they invited us to sing the national anthem, and I'm just not, my voice isn't strong enough anymore to carry that alone. And so when these opportunities come, I want to take advantage of them, but it gives me the opportunity to share with someone else too. So I asked John and Robin to sing it with me.
Wow.
And what an incredibly fun day. John was like a kid at the race, wasn't he? I had no idea he was going to enjoy watching the race like he did. I also had no idea that Robin had never sung the national anthem somewhere.
Wow.
So it was a great moment. She didn't even tell me till that was all over, because she at first thought I just wanted John. I said, no, I want the three of us to do it. So we sounded pretty darn good too, and had such fun.
Oh, that's amazing. It was quite interesting when he was saying obviously about his operation, and he said they missed the vocal cords because they knew he was, but he didn't know that they knew he was a singer. So they did this special operation, he said, and it saved my voice. And I said, why? You know, these things are just meant to happen, aren't they? And things. But Jeannie, it's been an absolute pleasure and honor, as it is always, to speak to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me back, and we appreciate all the attention you're giving the album, and especially this single now, because the single means so much to all of us. And I know Steve and Bobby Tomberlin appreciate it too.
No, we'll play a lot more from the album as well after this. And like I said, we'll stay safe and stay well, and let's get back on the road. Yeah.
Yeah, you get on that plane and come over here, okay?
I'll get a rowing boat.
You and I together will take on Brian Smith.
Well, I've got a story. I tell you what. Let's close this, and I'll tell you a story about Brian.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.